Honey is one of the most familiar foods in our daily lives. This sweet liquid is made by bees from flowers, but creating honey isn't easy. It's a complex, time-consuming process that costs bees an enormous amount of energy, all for just a few drops. When a bee lands on a flower, it's not just admiring the view. It's there for one reason: nectar. A beehive is like a tiny kingdom. One queen rules it all. A few hundred lazy drones live to mate, and thousands of workers do everything else, from cleaning, building, to making honey. Worker bees are all female, but unlike the queen, they're sterile, born to serve, not to lay eggs. Each day, the worker bee's job is to fly, and fly, and fly, always searching, always collecting. A worker bee can travel up to 5 kilometers in search of flowers, a staggering distance for such a tiny body. Once a target is spotted, the bee moves in, using its long proboscis to probe the flower, locate the nectar gland, and sip the sweet liquid inside. But the bee doesn't swallow the nectar into its regular stomach. Instead, it stores it in a special organ, the honey stomach. The nectar is stored here, safely separated from the digestive system so the bee doesn't accidentally consume it. At this point, special enzymes are released, beginning the transformation of nectar into honey. Back at the hive, a welcoming team is already waiting. They're worker bees too, but younger ones, assigned to stay behind and handle logistics. The worker bee delivers the nectar in the most efficient way possible, by vomiting it up. After handing over its load of bee barf to the younger workers, the forager performs a familiar ritual. It dances. Is it celebrating a long, hard day of work? No, it's reporting back to the hive, sharing vital intel, where the flowers are, and where danger might be lurking. As for the house bees, they pass the nectar along, regurgitating it from one to another again and again in a sticky relay of teamwork. They do this because a single bee's enzymes aren't enough to process all that nectar. It takes teamwork, each bee adding a bit more enzyme to finish the job. Once enough enzymes have been added, the final house bee regurgitates the liquid into a hexagonal storage cell. But the liquid still contains too much water to be stored safely. So the bees begin to fan it, drying it out with their wings. Once the moisture drops to about 20%, a house bee arrives to seal the cell with a thin layer of beeswax. To make this wax, bees secrete a substance from tiny pores on their bodies, then mix it with saliva and pollen. To make this wax, bees secrete a substance from tiny pores on their bodies, then mix it with saliva and pollen. Why do bees make honey? You might think that bees make honey to eat every day, but clearly they don't need to make things this complicated. In fact, the daily diet of most bees in the hive isn't honey at all. It's something called bee bread. It's a fermented mix of pollen and honey, carefully packed by worker bees. It can be eaten right away. No complicated vomiting chain required like with honey. As for the honeybee, it has already started digesting part of the nectar on purpose. And just like that, the entire colony is well fed, without ever needing to touch the honey. But bees aren't stupid. Honey is their treasure, a stockpile for hard times. Normally, everything is fine. But when harsh weather strikes and flowers vanish, the whole colony risks starving to death. Stockpiling bee bread isn't a great idea. It spoils quickly and takes up too much space. And that's why honey exists, not just as a sweet treat for us, but as a masterpiece of survival engineering.